Head coach Dale Starr joining me for the first Women's Volleyball Weekly of 2018. The preseason has come and gone. The regular season will be here as of this Friday. The Catamount Volleyball Classic will be the first preseason action for the Colonials. Western Carolina on Friday, Middle Tennessee and Charleston Southern on Saturday. All in all, seemed to be an exciting preseason for your guys. Just your thoughts on how it went.
I think it went pretty well. We came through relatively injury-free. We had a couple kids miss a couple days, but everybody's healthy moving into this weekend, so that's a good sign for us. It gives us a lot of options. We've still got a lot of things to look at as far as lineups and different combinations to try to figure out exactly who we are. I mean, we have a pretty good idea, but we're still 12 of our 15 kids are freshmen, sophomores, so we're still pretty young. So, I thought we had a great spring with this group, and then the training camp has been good. The freshmen have acclimated pretty well. They're competing and they're doing some nice things and trying not to be too overwhelmed. And we'll see how this weekend goes. It's always pretty nerve-wracking for the freshmen that first weekend, and I'm glad we got to have a scrimmage against another team, kind of get some of those nerves worked out a little bit. So maybe Saturday or Friday night won't be so nerve-wracking for them.
And in that scrimmage, the freshmen who played seemed to play particularly well. Megan Cannon in particular with a very good day, had a double-double, gives you some depth at the setter position. You were, of course, a setter in your playing days, so, your thoughts on Megan and what she brings to the program this year.
Megan brings a very, very intense competitiveness. I mean, that kid, I think that she would cheat and fight and scratch and kick and claw just to win a game of checkers. So, it's her competitiveness is really good. Her intensity on the floor. She understands the game very well. She's very, very athletic. She's a little bit bigger and more physical than the kids that we've had in the past. And so, that brings a different dimension to our setting position. But both her and Whitney are very, very athletic and get into a lot of balls that we haven't necessarily been able to get to in the past. And that's refreshing to keep some things alive and bail out some kids on some not great passes and those types of things. So, I think she brings a lot to the setting position. Brings a lot of competition too, which is good. I mean, it's iron sharpens iron, and and they're in there, pushing each other every day, and it's very, very close in that setter battle. So, we're hoping that it continues.
And it says a lot about, you talked about the freshmen and sophomores, just the maturity of that group, that last year they were able to get to the postseason despite the relative youth, and this year, again, a rookie class that seems to be fitting in very well. And I'm sure that speaks not just to the coaching staff, but to the ability of the teammates to kind of put those girls under their arms. And it seems like there's a lot of maturity on the team in spite of those things that you mentioned.
Yeah, these kids are very, very close. They do a lot of different things together. I think they went to Topgolf on their own as a group the other night, and just trying to get to know each other. And the upperclassmen do a really nice job of cooking dinner for them every once in a while, and everybody getting together and hanging out during the preseason. We're one of 3 teams on campus during the fall, or 4 teams, I guess, with the 2 soccers, a football, and us. And so it's always good for them to get their feet wet, with each other before the chaos and everybody else starts moving on to campus. So, I like the chemistry of this group. I really like the personalities of this group, and our practices have been a very, very competitive. There's not very many lulls in practices. I mean, you have your ups and downs, but I think the talent level in the gym is as good as we've had since I've been here.
So let's take a look at the competition this weekend again. It's the Catamount Volleyball Classic. First up, Western Carolina, then Middle Tennessee on Saturday, Charleston Southern Saturday afternoon to round out the action. Your thoughts on the 3 teams that we're going to be looking at this weekend?
Western Carolina was 11-19 last year. They play in a pretty solid conference. There's some really good teams in that conference. So, they're going to be a challenge. It's their home opener. It's always tough to play on somebody else's home floor, especially the first game of a season. So, that's going to be a challenge for us. Middle Tennessee, we played last year. They beat us in 5 here at our tournament. They're relatively young again this year, just like we are. But we lost in 5 in a match that we felt like, we had opportunities to maybe make a couple of different plays, and that match turns out differently. So I think that ought to be a very good match on Saturday morning. And then I don't know much about Charleston Southern. We'll see them play Middle Tennessee Friday afternoon before our first match. So, we'll get a good look at the 2 of the 3 before we play. And Friday night we're just going to strap on our shoes and throw it out there and see what we can do. And I hopefully we play a good match, and hopefully we come out on top.
And finally, looking at the longer term, this is a very competitive conference, the NEC, that the Colonials are playing in this year. This can be a team seemingly that makes a lot of noise in that conference. What's going to be the key to kind of climbing your way into the picture in the longer term?
Well, I think every team in our conference has to stay healthy. I mean, at the end of the year, the team that's the healthiest usually is the team that is playing for a title. In 15, we stayed healthy. We played for a title. We ended up winning it. 16, we didn't stay healthy and we didn't make the tournament. We were picked to win it, and we were down to 7 kids at the end of the year, and we couldn't hardly practice more than about an hour a day, and it was just tough to tape everybody together. Last year we stayed relatively healthy. We had a few bumps and bruises, a few kids, missing some time, concussions and those types of things. But, I thought we put a pretty good foot forward for being as young as we were, playing Long Island on their home floor. I think if we'd have won that first set, it would have been a different match. We had a pretty good lead in that first set and ended up losing by 2 and then kind of fell apart in the second. Came back and won the third, and then played a competitive fourth set, but we just couldn't quite get over the hump. But I think it was a great experience for these young kids, and I think we have, if we stay healthy, I think we've got as good a shot as anybody to make some noise and be in the championship. That was as close a conference race as I've seen since I've been here. It's 4 teams going into the final weekend had a chance to be tied for a conference championship. So, and 3 teams ended up tied for it. So. That's as close as it's been since I've been here. I anticipated it being every bit that close this upcoming year too. Not a lot of the top teams lost all that much. So all the 4 teams that made the tournament bring back a whole lot of firepower for this year. So, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out.
And let's start with making some noise in Cullowhee, North Carolina, shall we? It's the Catamount Volleyball Classic again. First opponent on the docket for RMU will be the host, Western Carolina, and you can watch that Friday night at 6:30 on ESPN+. Head coach Dale Starr, good luck in Carolina.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.